Hey fun fans, coming up on this week of FRC Round Up, we'll be taking a look at the District Advancement to Championships update, the newly released AMB Robotics Calculator with lots of cool features, and the WVRoX Endurance event. And all of this and more coming up on this edition of FRC Round Up.
This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. If you are a college student or recent graduate looking for an incredible internship, take a look at Stryker. Stryker provides a housing stipend, great pay, and an opportunity to work with state-of-the-art medical technology equipment. Discover why so many First alumni are coming to Stryker for their internship or career at careers.stryker.com. Did you know that over 30% of the student population at Kettering University was in high school robotics? These same students have received a portion of over $7 million from robotics scholarships from Kettering University. See why so many in First choose to go to Kettering University at kettering.edu.
Welcome to the show. If you've not caught our show previously, FRC Roundup is where we take a look at anything hot in FRC, highlight some discussion points about events that may have happened, strategy, or really anything that could have happened in FRC recently. If you, the fun community, think that there's a topic that we should cover, feel free to ping me on the fun Discord. I'll be more than happy to take a look at it. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Mathis, and I'm currently in the First and Michigan region, formerly with Team 4130 and currently with FRC 33.
And I am Connor McBride, mentor for Team 166 Chop Shop and game announcer in the New England District. Our guest tonight is Earl Scime from West Virginia, who is the lead coach for Hall of Fame team FRC 2614 Mars, as well as one of the event organizers for West Virginia Robotics Extreme, otherwise known as WVRoX. Earl, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks again, Earl, for hopping on. So jumping right into our first topic tonight, one of the hotter ones that has come off the press recently down from First HQ. Pretty big update to the necessary adjustments relating to district teams attending regionals. If you didn't get a chance to take a look at it, it is no longer allowed for a district team to actually qualify from regional advancement. So I know a lot of the time, specifically one that comes to mind is the Pittsburgh Regional. I was able to attend that on my spring break, and there were actually two Michigan teams that had traveled to California, Pittsburgh, and had actually won the event. And only one had generated a wild card because Rush was a Hall of Fame team. So 35-39, the Biting Bulldogs actually had qualified from that regional. So I think this is a necessary point to make. I personally was really only a fan of it to begin with because I was hoping that it would just push more regions to go to districts because the regional system is flawed in many ways. But I've talked, hours and on end about this on this show. So, but I think overall it's the right move. I do think it was pretty unfair for the representative, sites and their specific regionals that may only compete once a year, and we're getting that one chance ripped from them from that end. So, Earl, I know you guys were at the Pittsburgh Regional there as well, and had lost.
We were finalists teams against that alliance. Yep.
So, overall thoughts on your opinion with the change and what it does for the program moving forward.
Well, I mean, those of us in regionals often enjoy seeing teams from districts that we haven't gotten to play with, except maybe if we see them at Worlds. So that's always fun. I enjoyed playing against Rush and the others. I wonder now if teams from districts will bother to try and go to regionals. Exactly. I'm not sure if they'll still try it. So that will be a bit of a disappointment not to get to see some of them one-on-one, get to know the teams and the coaches, but from a regional standpoint, it does provide more opportunities for regional teams to advance.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the one main thing that comes to my mind right away, right, is, our district's going to pony up the $5,000 or whatever it is now to attend a regional to not even try and compete for the championship slot. So I know, going to Pittsburgh, that was my first regional that I'd ever attended. And it's definitely a different atmosphere from a district event. Being here in Michigan and going to the 40-team district events, they're relatively low key compared to, the regional events. It's more of a laid back league style, in my opinion, where, it's just what we do on the weekends and we go back and do it the next weekend or in a couple weekends from there. And, we get our big one at MSC, right? So, but Connor, I know you're from a district system as well, but overall thoughts on, the rule change?
Yeah, overall, I think this is all across the board. This is a great change. So my team we're from the New England district, and we tend to travel out of district every so often. We tried to in 2020 before the pandemic, and we did in 2019. We went down to Georgia, and we were actually going to start going to regionals. But that with the new announcement now, that kind of seals the deal on not going to regionals for us, because other than it's a different atmosphere, because at a regional you are qualifying for championship spots versus a qualifying district event. You're just trying to gain points, get to your district championship. Now, the benefit for us going out of district to another district or regional is now the exact same thing. And what that is to get practice. So am I, as a team, if I go to an out of district, go to a regional, that's an additional $4,000, or going out of district to a district qualifying event, that's $1,000.
Right.
So $3,000 I can save, and I can get the exact same experience or exact same outcome of what I'm looking for, except you're not getting the full competitive atmosphere, which honestly, I think it's worth sacrificing that to save $3,000, in my opinion. But that it hurts a little bit, because that really kind of makes us go away from competing with teams out that aren't in the district system.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, that like the closest to us would be First Mid-Atlantic, or going down to like Chesapeake. Granted, we'll still go out and travel and probably haul our trailer cross country, because we're like that and we're crazy. But it definitely kind of limits us as to where we'll go nowadays. But still, overall, it's good, because I know there are other teams in New England like that go out of district. For example, like 125, 195, 2168, and those teams that typically do go out of district to a regional end up most of the time making it to the finals, or is on the winning alliance and eats up that championship slot. So we are denying slots from other places in the country, which does overall affect the geography of the world championship, and denying teams from that region.
Hey, let me ask you guys: is there any like current structure in place for intra-district play anymore, or has that mostly been shut out as well?
So at least it's hard from my perspective, at least in Michigan, obviously, just due to the sheer number of teams, and it'll definitely go away next year now that we're, moving MSC back to week 6 and jumping into, 5 district events a week and only doing it in 5 weeks. This year was a different story, because I think we actually had more slots than available. So inter-district was pretty available. But it got to the point where, in 2019 and 2020, where it was just nearly impossible, because we barely had enough slots for teams to play 2. At least that's the experience that I've had in Michigan from that standpoint. But
the thing with additional inter-district play, though, is you have to play your cards right, because it's the first 2 qualifying district events that you go to. It doesn't matter if it's like if you went to a week 1, 3, and 5, and you're like, oh, I want my points from week 3 and week 5 to count. No, it doesn't work that way. It's the first 2 events in order in your district. So as for my team, when we would go out of district, we would go to an event prior to our 2 qualifying events to get that practice and get the robot ready for when it actually counts.
Yeah.
I know there's still plenty of teams in New England that do that. So like 2262 and 125, they go to at least 3 to 4 qualifying district events each year. How that's going to play out this year, because we're in the same position as Michigan, where our district champs is now week 6 instead of a normal week 7. That could happen less, because there's now only 5 weeks of district qualifying events. But who knows? I mean, we'll see once teams start registering for events.
Right. Earl, you wanted to jump in and add something?
Yeah, I do want to point out that there is a loss to the regional teams, in the sense of when really good district teams. So we use Pittsburgh as an example. Rush came. Most of the teams that play at the Pittsburgh Regional will not go to Worlds.
Right.
And that might be their only regional. And so the cross-fertilization of technology and ideas, we actually really enjoy that. I think even though we got beat by Rush, it was an impressive machine. It was well-driven. And we got to play against a really good team, and it, pushes us and the teams around us to say, hey, we want to play at that level.
For sure.
And so that inter-scene rivalry will go away a little bit. And that's a loss. We get more slots. And so a couple more teams will get to go to Worlds. and maybe see those teams there. But
Right.
At Pittsburgh, 40 teams got to see some really impressive world-class teams.
Yeah, and again, one thing I wanted to add importantly too is that and then we'll go ahead and get moving on to the next topic. But I don't know that this will necessarily affect teams like Rush, just for the sheer fact they're Hall of Fame, they're qualifying anyway, and they use it more or less as like a team building exercise, getting to travel 6-7 hours away from home and staying the night with the team and whatnot. So teams like that I don't necessarily think it'll affect, but like one thing that comes to example when like 469 in 2018, I think it was. Did their 2 Michigan districts, didn't do the greatest, and wouldn't have qualified for MSC, and then jumped into SBPLI and got in and won the event to get the champs, the week before. So I think in that sense, that's why I'm glad the rule is there, because I don't think Michigan teams should be able to do that. I think that's just not fair, and now you're just trying to buy your way in my opinion. But any last thoughts from Tyler or the group on this topic before we move on? So okay,
No.
Cool. Well, before we go ahead and jump into our next topic, we're going to go ahead and bring Tyler back on to talk about our friends from Striker.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll do this first. So, yeah, let's talk about our friends at Striker and Striker Careers, by the way, who have already started to post new internships coming for 2023. So if you're looking for an awesome opportunity, go check out careers.stryker.com to learn more about internship opportunities all around the states and actually all around the world. And, of course, if you're not looking for an internship or co-op, they have tons of career opportunities for you to take a look at. Hey, if you want to go work for a company that actively supports you being in first, go check out careers.stryker.com. And thanks a lot to Striker for keeping fun, loud, live, and independent.
Yep. Thanks again to our friends from Striker. So one thing that we were supposed to talk about for the ad read, but we'll bring it up now is if you didn't get a chance to see, I know that Justin is in the chat as well. So you have questions about this. I know he's been the point for us, at least in the fun Discord. But Peachtree has officially added South Carolina to their district. I think this is overall good for the system, and I'm glad that we were able to add more teams to the district system because I'm a big proponent of it. But nothing too much from me. I haven't got a chance to dive into this too much, but Connor or Earl, anything to add on the Peachtree announcement?
Earl, I'll let you go first.
So, it's a concern for teams in small population states. West Virginia has 3 teams. We had 4, and one just folded this year. So this kind of closes off the East Coast. We are historically a perennial Myrtle Beach week 1 event attendee, and have very much enjoyed going to Palmetto. So for us to get anywhere on the East Coast now, we'd have to go down to Florida. It's, it starts to get a 14, 15-hour drive. And so that means teams in sort of the middle part of the country that can't really form a district are having more and more challenges trying to find events. And so that's just always a concern of mine and coaches in small population states.
Yeah, that's a good point to think. I think when the first thing that comes to mind is we hear, more states being added to districts, and we're like, yay, the district system. But, in reality, there's also a con to that where, like you stated, teams in West Virginia are now kind of in their bubble of, where they can go and, trying to find advancement points from that standpoint. But Connor?
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about that.
I didn't think about it either.
Yeah, I didn't know how I was going to say how many, but how few events there are near 2614 and other teams in like the West Virginia area.
Well, Virginia's in Chesapeake.
Right, Virginia's Chesapeake. Right. Yeah, so because when I saw that, I was like, oh, cool. This is not to be confused with the thoughts on North Carolina and South Carolina thread merging together.
The night before the announcement came out.
what a train ride that was.
Right.
So reading a little bit through that thread, and I'm sure that Justin will probably chime in and chat, but a lot of those South Carolina teams are more so on the East Coast, and then on the east side of South Carolina, and then a lot of teams in Georgia are more like north to northwest. So that does really kind of help open up additional districts more towards the East Coast for Georgia teams as well, for them to be able to go over there. So less travel time. But what it sounds like is, overall it does benefit more teams, but it definitely makes those teams that are traveling to like the Palmetto Regional now have to travel elsewhere.
Hey, Earl, I got to ask, is it reasonable at all for West Virginia to join Chesapeake, or is that just completely out of the question?
It's been out of the question. Obviously, First or Chesapeake could change. The closest team to us is 35 miles away, GACO, who just won World Inspire Award, Chairman's Award. Wonderful team, but we haven't gotten to play with them in 7 or 8 years because they're in Chesapeake. So, we can go New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Tennessee. There are no events in Kentucky. We're down to Alabama. So that's sort of our span now. And we went to New York last year. We won it. That was great. Mm-hmm. But that's a pretty good trip for us and heading into potentially bad winter weather.
Right.
So it's always a question for us. Palmetto was great because if we got out of the mountains, it was clear sailing weather-wise the rest of the trip.
Earl, I do have to press you a little bit and ask you, though, like, if given the opportunity, would Mars prefer to join Chesapeake or District, that sort of system, if possible?
Most of the Chesapeake events are pretty far. So we'd also be very interested in maybe partnering with other states. There's been a lot of talk of Western PA and Ohio and West Virginia, a sort of WOW district, and that's been talked about a lot. There's also partnerships with Tennessee and Kentucky. So we're kind of open to any of those opportunities if it could work in a district model.
Right. Interesting. Well, thanks for that insight from your neck of the woods, Earl. I appreciate that. So we're going to jump into topic 2, which is looking at the newly released AMB Calculator that was posted on Chief. So if you're not familiar with Ari, he's been all over Chief and helping in various ways, but this calculator is the real deal. From being a student in engineering, I may even use this to do some homework sometimes. But one of the cool features, Tyler, if you want to click on the beam bending section for me, this is one of the things personally that I think is one of the coolest options here. As being a mechanical engineering student, I had just learned this last semester, and specifically looking at internal forces and looking at cantilever in between fixtures and whatnot, and the fact that we're able to have this derived and available to high school students. And I didn't go to the biggest high school, so some of the bigger high schools may teach this in physics or something of that sort. But the fact that I had just learned this 9 months ago, and now it's being posted to high school students, is something that I think that is really cool for not only the program but also getting them exposed to that specific material. But one of the big things from Ari that we were able to get some information on is it's now a website. No need to download anything. Works without Excel. It's all self-contained. One thing that I think is also really cool is that every time you create in the calculation, you create a custom URL. So if you wanted to create a math equation and say, hey, this is what I was able to determine, whether it's using the gear ratio feature that's also there, or looking at a couple others that are available within the calculator, they're custom URL, so you can actually share that with your team in a Slack channel and say, hey, what do you think about taking a look at this for me and going from there? Most of the inputs are in imperial or metric for those that are in the international. Everything's fully documented with most of the equations being derived as well. So if you're a high school student that's really interested in saying, hey, how did he come up with this, or where's this math coming from, that information is also available. There's the mechanism ratio, the gearbox ratio, reduction swap, drivetrain simulator. It's all in there, so you can do all the math ahead of time and helping your team be more competitive and more fluid in the design process overall. So, Connor, we'll go and throw it to you. I know you're a mechanical designer at heart too. So, overall thoughts on the AMB calculator being released?
This is just eye candy to me, especially for my background is in CAD and design. So this is everything I could have ever wanted and more. Going back to the Ben calculator. This is they're basically handing you plugins for the equation. Granted, you do need to know your equation so you know which variable to plug into where, but it basically eliminates all the math that you might get wrong and just enter in your numbers, and then boom, it pumps out your value. My favorite part has to be the projectile trajectory. As for someone who is been on a team that doesn't normally get their shot just right, because it's especially this past year, because sometimes it's been a guess and check. This just helps out tremendously.
For sure.
Yeah, and prior to this release, I know Jesse K with iLight, he has an iLight calculator that has been using for drivetrain. I know Ari had a previous version that I believe it was using Excel. I can't remember.
Yeah, JVM is a big one.
Yeah, I was still using JVN up
Yeah, me too.
until this release. I was still using JVN, and like 95% of my equations I'd ever used was really just for drivetrain stuff,
Right.
or like a rotary arm for this past year for our traversal climber. But yeah, to be able to have all of this stuff just right here at the touch of a button is just super, super cool.
Yeah,
I haven't had a ton of time to be able to dive into it, but I just can't wait to go in even more and just explore for myself.
Yeah, Earl, anything to add?
Did I see I saw a chain length calculator in there. Was there also a belt one?
I believe there is a belt one. Yeah, it's a chain and belt center to center distance calculator. So one thing that I think is really cool that he incorporated too is that there's also, Tyler, if you could go back one screen to the reduction swap. So if you do happen to go into the design and you happen to jack something up and you need to go back and do something, you can actually put the center to center distance of what's currently in there, and then the max deviation that you can add from that point. And then it'll actually give you options on what you can add, either get a higher ratio at the same center to center, so you don't have to redesign anything, which I think is a really cool feature because, at least in my experience, a lot of the times we may think that something only needs something and it ends up needing like a lot more. And we're in a pinch and we don't have time to remachine something. So this is going to save a ton of time and a ton of math trying to figure out those ratios from that point. But,
no one else has ever, of course, had to find two pulleys and a belt that would just happen to fit in that same spot.
Yeah, and one thing that'll be really nice to help with this too is the pulley feature script that's now in Onshape, and being able to incorporate that. That also has helped that situation a lot too. But anything to add before we go ahead and start our third topic in the giveaway as well?
Looks cool. I'm going to share it with my team.
Okay, cool. So again, before we go ahead and jump into our next topic, we're going to go ahead and hear from our friends at Kettering University and start our giveaway.
Yeah, so let's start the giveaway first. We'll do that on there. So we got our friends from the Thrifty Bot are giving away a $25 Thrifty Bot gift card. By the way, if you haven't go check them out at thethrifty.com. Lots of cool stuff, especially with the season starting to gear back up and in. I know Thrifty Bot's been very FRC centric, but a lot of cool stuff for FTC teams as well. So go check it out over on there. See if there's something that might be right for you over at thethrifty.com. If you're interested in winning a $25 Thrifty Bot gift card, go ahead. Well, you can wear it too and put it around your neck or something like that.
Wear it proudly.
Yeah, right. So go ahead and type in very thrifty in chat. Actually, where's the gift card on here? Because Ryan's kid, Finn, there we go. Look at that. You can't. I don't know if they send you this, but that would be incredible if they do. So go ahead and type in very thrifty for that opportunity to win that gift card. And by the way, thanks a lot to our friends at Kettering University. Hey, if you don't know, first scholarships are starting to kick back in, and Kettering University has 80 scholarships to give away for first students. If you're an FRC or FTC, make sure you go check it out. I believe you do have to be, as the website says, in grade 12. I even heard it's possible the deadline might move a little bit too, because there's so much interest in Kettering University scholarships right now. So if you want to get up to $25,000 to Kettering University, go check out the first scholarship portal and make sure you go over to kettering.edu. Click on that first Invex area to learn more about things, including a co-op sneak peek from the Michigan State Championship. And I will be out at Kettering Kickoff, which is an awesome 2 separate day season event. I think Nick Jr. is coming out for that too. So say hi to us there. We're looking forward to having a great time there as well. Thanks a lot to Kettering for their support of First Updates Now.
Yep, as Tyler said, we will both be there. So if you happen to be there and see us, feel free to come say hi. So go ahead and jump into the last topic of the night. One of the event that still blows my mind that it is a thing, and I need to make it out there one of these times. But taking a look at the WVRoX event happening in West Virginia, ran by Earl's team, 2614. It is the ultimate event of FRC, the 26-hour, 14-minute endurance event that I just can't fathom how awesome this event is. But Earl, we'll kind of just throw it to you. And, how did WVRoX come about? And, how does it continue to keep going?
Well, you know how it came about. We were in a workshop at 3 a.m. with a bunch of kids in 2012, and we're like, "Hey, we should do an off season. What could it be? We could do it around the clock." No, that's crazy. And so I said, that can't possibly be done. I mean, that's insane. And the kids were like, "Our team number is 2614. We can do it for 26 hours and 14 minutes." And I said, no one would come. And so we talked to a couple of teams, and they all said, "Oh, we would come." And then a couple of coaches said, "I hate you." And we started the event.
That's awesome. Yeah. So one of the things that definitely comes to mind is like, a lot of I know it's a bit like WVRoX is a big hot topic in Michigan. And I know 3538's made the trip out there a couple of times. I'm pretty close with Allison in the group over there, but
won it twice.
Won it twice. Right. So it's just like fathoming and trying to, because first of all, I think one of the things it's really cool for not only the program, but for the students getting to experience something like that. Because I know there's other, events around the country, and I do a lot of dirt track racing. So a lot of the topics come up are enduros, when it's the coast to coast, let's see how fast we can get the car from coast to coast without stopping and, stuff like that. So the fact that we're able to have some sort of FRC event that kind of happens like that is a really cool opportunity. But I guess like from our perspective, we kind of want to hear about, what goes into, gathering volunteers for that. What are the main aspects that you think how teams approach it? Is there a lot of them that kind of run in shifts and then they go like take a nap in the bleachers for a couple hours, or, how does that work from a team standpoint, or some, aspects that your team might put into account as well?
Yeah, definitely adding on to that volunteer thing, because I'm a volunteer coordinator for my team's off-season event. So like, I would love to hear everything about that.
Well, this year I had my fiance be the event volunteer coordinator, and I think we're still engaged. So
good start.
She's the keeper.
Because with COVID, people were like the night before, "Hey, I can't come," and you're trying to fill 3 or 4 spots. So that made it extra hard. The amazing thing about FRC is months before the FRC community, months before we said we were going to do it again, I have people calling me up, sending me emails. Of
course they do.
Who say, "This is on my bucket list. I want to come volunteer. I will fly across the country." Our head ref, this is his second time. He flies himself across the country, volunteers, and wants to do it for the entire event. We're like, "Hey, we can get you a second."
That's
head
awesome.
ref. And he's like, "No, I want to do the whole thing. It's on my bucket list." So we have a lot of great people who volunteer and show up from all over the country to volunteer. Then our team pitches in a lot, the families, parents, friends, relatives. And the cool thing for me was at the event, I got to see some alumni of the team I haven't seen in 5 or 6 years. I turned around and there was this young lady with 2 children, and she was on my team years ago. I didn't know she had kids. I didn't know she'd finished grad school. But she knew the event was coming up, and she made an effort to show up, and it was just great to have that time with them. You asked about what else goes into the event. I mean, the hard thing is the food, and we've had to play with that a number of times with costs and so forth. And we worked out a model which I think is sustainable in the future, because in the past the university covered all the food, and finances being what they are, those things change. So food's a big deal. It's actually, in terms of setup, because you're there the whole time, it's actually a very compact event. We set up on Thursday and we're torn down by Saturday night. So it's sort of district event length. And the other thing for me is, as a designer, I know you guys are talking about engineering, mechanical engineering and so forth. I'm often involved in the design of our robots. I tend to be very conservative and want to build things that last, which does not allow us sometimes to operate on the margin where you can maybe have more performance. And so for me, this event's great, right? It's the robots that can actually last have an advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something that I really value. And that's why we set it at 24 teams, so that if you can make it through, and we allow dummy robots to come in if you're down for a couple of matches because you're cycling very fast. If you can make it through, then you compete in the elimination rounds.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think is really cool too, is the cap that you guys put on it, right? And it's like, we got to get it through because we want to make the playoffs. It's like almost the reward at the end of the tunnel. But Connor, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you said 24 teams.
That's right.
Yeah, after your match, you're pretty much on deck for your next one. So,
yeah. And you asked if teams run in shifts, and they do. The way we see it is, at a normal event, a regional, you might get 10 plays.
Mhm.
And so all the teams at this event got at least 28 plays.
That's awesome.
So for a fairly modest cost, they got 28 plays. So lots of teams, my team included, ran 4 drive teams, trying out new drivers, getting them 5 or 6 matches, letting them get into rhythm, cycling out another team. That's where the coaches really come to us and say, this is a great opportunity for our young drivers to get lots of experience.
Yeah, so I guess one last thing that comes to mind for me is, what was it like getting the approval from the school and saying, hey, we're going to run this event 26 hours straight. We're going to be there all night. I need janitors, security, whoever you need staffed. I need them there all night long. How was the thought process going behind that?
They say you're crazy, but they've supported me. I've been at the university for 27 years, so they kind of know me. The real issue, because it's an overnight event, is the university and schools focus on safety of kids.
Right.
So we have a whole nother layer of volunteer screening and background checks, even though we have a resting area. And so people can set up sleeping bags and stuff. It is this big gymnasium. The lights are sort of half level, and people will sleep 4-hour shifts, 5-hour shifts. Just because of that, there's an extra layer of scrutiny for the kids. That's really been the big challenge from the university. The university was great. We had tours of campus and
that's awesome
exhibitions of equipment, things like that. So it's great. And we do it every other year, I should say, because we're crazy, not stupid.
I like that. Tyler, you had something to add?
I got a couple things. Earl, first of all, what happened to the lights out matches, man? Like, I was so forward looking seeing those. Was that something that's just you wanted to change stuff up? Because you did, I think one of the things to mention at WVRoX is you do kind of these funky matches, right? These different challenge matches as well.
Arms Day was incredible. For those of you who don't know, that's where robots could climb as often as they wanted. And teams went out and just pounded away at the bar, on, off, on, off.
That is awesome.
Great. If all you had was a climber, that was your match.
I think RoboJack had scored like 180 points that match or something like that. It was nuts.
Did you get times for like every time you climbed, you got more like that is so cool.
If you climbed on that middle bar, you got 6 points every time you disengaged and went back up.
I had forgotten about those matches, and I'm watching them at like 3:30 in the morning or whenever they were. And I'm like, I was like, is like everyone's robot just not working right now? It's like, oh no, they're lifting themselves up on the mid bar, going down, releasing, and then doing it again.
That's amazing.
So Tyler, you asked about lights out. So I love the lights out match. And in 2018, last time we did it, we put LED lights in the crates and colored them. So you had to pick up your red crate or blue crate. I couldn't really think, and my team couldn't really think of a great spin on a lights out match for this game other than climbing in the dark, which seemed like a really bad idea. So we did reverse. We had to climb on the far bar, and you could shoot the other team's balls. But everyone also likes the silent match because it's really the only time you get to hear robots just slamming into each other.
The game announcers were fantastic for that.
Yeah. So everyone's quiet. There's no talking. Drive teams can't talk. It's all pantomime. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So there's.
I remember seeing this. This was really cool when I watched this online.
So I'm looking forward to another lights out match, whatever the game is in 2024. We'll try and swing it. It was hard to think of one that really would work with this thing. The other thing we did was it's a great day to be a human player. So for those of the human players who got to throw one ball every match all year, this one was only the human players could score cargo.
So everyone's just slamming them into the terminal.
Yeah, but there was one kid on one team who was doing like a shot put shot, and he made 8 balls. And I think the most any other human player made was like 2.
That's awesome.
One other thing I quickly wanted to mention, you actually kind of talked about this a little bit, Earl, but I think one of the coolest things with WVRoX was having teams play as many matches as they did, and not because of the just play matches, but I think it was a real testament that for so long people have been talking about, having like rankings really hash out over time, right? And this is like the only event that you've been able to do something like that where I truly felt like the top 8 made sense, and actually for the order, for the most part, completely made sense, too, after time. So I think that's something that is a great byproduct of WVRoX, is that we actually got to see what it's like when you literally get to play with and against everybody throughout the entire competition. I think that's really cool.
That's a big thing for me, too. I really like that aspect. We get a little pushback because we make the specialty matches count, But what I try and tell people is it's really not going to matter if your mentor can't drive in a mentor match. You're playing 26 matches. This is your workout. Yeah. And they do. And it's amazing. The teams really kind of sort themselves out. But plus, how many times you've been in an event and you're like, wish I'd gotten to play with Poofs. And you've never seen them, and here at ROX, you might play with them 2 or 3 times and against them 2 or 3 times. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, before we go ahead and wrap up, Tyler, let's go ahead and draw for that giveaway from our friends at the Thrifty Bot.
Yeah. So once again, giving away that $25 gift card from the Thrifty Bot. And if you do win, please make sure you send me your email so we can get that out to Ryan for draw for that. And the winner of that is going to be Zero Gang Samantha. Congratulations. You have won. Since you're not hosting the show, you are eligible to win. So congratulations to that. Thanks again to the Thrifty Bot for their awesome support of First Updates Now. We do have other suppliers that are going to be doing stuff soon, so look forward to that. And make sure you check out our esports stuff we have going on over on our Discord at discord.gg/First Updates Now.
Yep. Thanks again to everybody for tuning into FRC Round Up. Special thanks to all those that clicked the follow button or stepped up to help fund with a Twitch subscription or donation this stream. Your support really helps us continue to make great content. Don't forget, you can watch FRC Roundup archived at youtube.com/First Updates Now and watch live Mondays after FRC Recap during the competition season, or monthly now that we are in the off season, or as Earl like to call it, the preseason for 2023. Thank you again to Earl, our guest, for coming on. And on behalf of our producer, Tyler Olds, my co-host, Connor, and all fun correspondence, I'm Nick Jr., and thanks for watching. Good luck to any teams that may be competing in any events coming up. Again, Tyler and I will be at Kettering Kickoff coming up here in September before our next show. So see you next time, same day, same time, where we take a look at what is going on in FIRST Robotics on FRC Roundup. Thanks, everyone.
See you in Houston.
This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. Did you know that over 30% of the student population at Kettering University was in high school robotics? These same students have received a portion of over $7 million from robotics scholarships from Kettering University. See why so many in FIRST choose to go to Kettering University at kettering.edu. If you're a college student or recent graduate looking for an incredible internship, take a look at Stryker. Stryker provides a housing stipend, great pay, and an opportunity to work with state-of-the-art medical technology equipment. Discover why so many FIRST alumni are coming to Stryker for their internship or career at careers.stryker.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/First Updates Now. Join our Discord at discord.gg/First Updates Now. And check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. Discover MSOE, where hands-on learning today can lead to real-world applications tomorrow, including their We Energy STEM Center built to support FIRST teams. Head on over to msoe.edu/visit to see a virtual tour and schedule your campus visit today. If you're a college student or recent graduate looking for an incredible internship, take a look at Stryker. Stryker provides a housing stipend, great pay, and an opportunity to work with state-of-the-art medical technology equipment. Discover why so many FIRST alumni are coming to Stryker for their internship or career at careers.stryker.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/First Updates Now. Join our Discord at discord.gg/First Updates Now. And check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.